Are we on? Are we live?
Welcome everyone, we are now live.
Hello everyone, my name is Jani Mikael Kuusisto. I'm the CEO of Invisible. We are a member of the PrintoCent community, and I've been given the honor today to host to you the second PrintoCent webinar. This topic this time is health and medical everywhere with you. The health and wellness sector is a very, very big client base for many of the companies, the research institute, VTT, universities from Oulu, who are in the PrintoCent community. Medical is a very, very important and application sector for this community. And for that reason, we decided to have this second session focusing on what are some of the companies in our network doing regarding this massive opportunity. Big changes in the healthcare system, and obviously these past few months and weeks have also been a stress test to healthcare in general, and a lot of important lessons from these past months. And we see a very important role for these emerging technologies in printed intelligence to help address some of the needs within healthcare. So health and medical everywhere with you. I see gradually people are coming in. I'll take this opportunity to say a few words about PrintoCent. PrintoCent community has been focused on the commercialization of printed intelligence technologies since 2009, and current members are listed here, both big companies, small to medium-sized companies, startups, and micro companies. This community originates from Oulu, Finland, but has had a very international focus from the very get-go. And it's been exciting to see how this international network has been expanding. Obviously, in these current times where business travel has been challenging, we decided as a community to take best advantage of today's tools, webinar being one of them, to communicate what is happening in this community. Today on the agenda, we have 5 presentations, or let me correct that. We only have 4, unfortunately. I'll come back to that. But we'll start off with iStoc, then Screentec, FinnAdvance, Ginolis. Marco unfortunately had to cancel at last moment due to technical difficulties with the mobile networks where he is located at this very point. And then ending with Professor Jussi Hiltunen from VTT. During this session, please send in your questions. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see the button where to press and send in your questions. At the end of the webinar, we will be answering the questions. We'll have a Q&A session. Do take notes, but this whole broadcast is being recorded, so we are live, but it is being recorded and will be made available on YouTube in the next couple of days. If you missed out on the first webinar session, boosting the industrialization of and commercialization of printed intelligence, do take a look. It's available on YouTube. Just use PrintoCent Webinar and it'll show up. It's a great session if you want to learn what PrintoCent is. If you're not previously familiar with PrintoCent, do take a look. All right, but without any further ado, I would like to give the floor to Joachim Delventhal, CRO, meaning Chief Responsibility Officer for iStoc. And well, I'll let Joachim do the intro to iStoc. So Joachim, I'll stop sharing my screen and feel free.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining and taking the time to getting to know us as well a little bit. My name is Joachim, as Janni has introduced. I have been with iStoc since 2013. The company itself has been around since 2012. It is a company that was founded by former Nokia engineers who have been with Nokia Health for a very long time globally and specialized in visual diagnostics through mobile phones. And that is the core of what we're doing. Our mission and what we do is to digitalize disconnected point of care diagnostic devices to take the results, bring them into the cloud and make them available anywhere. Our solution from the very beginning was thought to help diagnostics and healthcare delivery in poor and weak infrastructure areas of the world. So the security of good diagnostics and treatment on the one hand, and the affordability of these services has been the core of what iStoc is doing. Let me just share a slide now as well. Here. There we go. All right. So it is actually a very simple system. You can take a nurse or a healthcare worker or anybody employed in a hospital or laboratory and give them a mobile phone. On this mobile phone, they will get the iStoc IDA health application. With this application, the healthcare provider or the healthcare worker is able to digitalize the result, for example, of rapid tests, which is a very big thing right now with the COVID-19 situation, where rapid tests are one of the tools that we use to do massive screenings and to evaluate the spread of the disease. But we have also facilitated large tests for hepatitis, malaria, seasonal diseases like dengue, and other diseases. For example, in Pakistan, we ran a project where we tested 120,000 people in one go for 6 different infectious diseases. And what happens is that you take this test, simple rapid test cassettes, you use a drop of blood from the patient, apply it to the test, wait 8 to 10 minutes, you hold your phone over the test, you will get the result, and the result will be shared with a web-based application where it is then possible for a physician to provide feedback to the point of care. So we are connecting the point of care with the qualified physicians that might be located somewhere else in the world. And in this web application that the decision makers, politicians, managers, or physicians have, they get the immediate results from everywhere in their sphere. For example, if you have a central management unit to oversee the COVID-19 testing, then you will have an interactive map. You will have data management possibilities, trend analyses, and different kinds of reporting. You can build up epidemiological databases. You have the patient management either through our platform or as an integration with existing systems. This solution is now very popular due to the COVID-19, but it aims to offer a very broad spectrum of diagnostics. So any kind of rapid tests, and that can be anything like 200 to 500 different kinds of diagnoses for drug abuse, infectious diseases. All of these things can be tested through our solution. Users include pharmacies, clinics, the public system. It includes also large companies that want to create a way to get people back to work. We have large companies in Southeast Asia that are running, for example, production of textiles, and they need to test 30,000 people just for a daily shift of workers, and they need to know whether there is a certain level of immunity in their working population. So this is something that is easily facilitated through our solution. Sorry, I have a home office situation here. Something that we find very interesting in this process is that through our solution, it is possible to create large-scale transparency, because you have the immediate access to all the data results in a given country. And we're actually meeting a lot of challenges because governments are, on the one hand, interested in having these results, but on the other hand, are also apprehensive to having all this data in live, because they are facing great scrutiny to the reactions of their healthcare systems, and it's actually a way to make that more visible. So they're very interesting dynamics. Something we also experience is a much greater willingness by governments, especially in the Western world, to adopt telemedicine. Certainly something that a lot of players are experiencing. And we know that some countries have started creating lists and pre-qualification systems whereby solutions like ours that connect the point of care and medical professionals, doctors, are actually something that can be paid for by insurance systems. So this is a very interesting development, I think, and is showing how COVID-19 is changing particular mobile and telemedicines around the world. Yeah, this is a quick presentation of our solution, and as said, we will have a chance to answer questions later on. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Joachim, and regards to your family. Thanks for letting us intrude your home. I guess we're all used to now seeing people's families, and it's a really nice, great thing. I'm actually standing here in Ylöjärvi, Finland, at the facilities of ISENT, to have to compete with my teenage children on the bandwidth in the home. Our PrintoCent partner ISENT allows me to come in and use their facilities. More about that a bit later. But moving ahead, the next speaker, Rudolf Alpul from Screentec. And Screentec is a company that has been involved in PrintoCent from the very beginning. And they've had a lot of exciting news during the past few weeks, and are on a very strong growth curve as we speak. Rudolf, are you there?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'll go and share my screen. Let's see. Okay, so there's no video today. A bit of a story there. I actually woke up with quite a lot of fever this morning. I'm here thanks to the wonders of modern medicine and such things as ibuprofen and paracetamol, which you can take at the same time. So that helps. So I'm here to talk to you about mass manufacturing solutions for medical devices and hybrid sensors, which is something we at Screentec do. We're a contract manufacturer of medical devices. We do have some own products as well, but more on that later. But generally, we help our customers make their medical devices, like bring them to the market and produce them in an efficient and fast way. Okay, so I include a little picture of Antti on the left, our CEO, and me, so that you don't have to completely listen to a disembodied voice and have a bit of an idea. We're here at the Medica last year together with Oulu Health. PrintoCent was also present at this. And you can there see like some of the projects we've been working on, like the bruxism electrode with the University of Eastern Finland. So first I'm going to tell you a bit about our company, the background, financial statistics, which are a bit skewed, and then talk about medical sensors, materials, and the processes that we use and offer you. And actually, for the first time in a long while, we've actually got a commercial case from one of our customers, which I'm really happy about. And it actually fits perfectly into the topic of today's webinar. And also a bit about our personal protection equipment ramp up and production that we've set up over the past few months. And then, you know, a little bit closing statement of what you can expect from us. So we've been around for over 30 years. Last year's turnover was about 2 million, although currently we have 59 employees. And like the observant of you, I've already noticed that there's a bit of a dissonance there. This year has seen a massive ramp up in production and sales and pretty much everything due to the coronavirus epidemic. But you know, like it's we only do a yearly statement, so it's going to take a while before the actual turnover to be revealed this year. The company is owned, like around roughly 80% is owned by Nordic Option, a local VC that 2 years ago, together with Antti, bought out the old owners to make investments in the company, upscale our machine park, and increase the production and like let us like invest into new machinery to better serve our customers. Some public partners there as well, VTT and like local universities, University of Eastern Finland, PrintoCent as well. Like these have been very strong partners for us, and VTT especially has been a key player here in the Oulu region to keep technology up to date and make sure that we are actually able to compete on a worldwide scale. So what do we do? Our original background is actually durable user interfaces or human machine interfaces, keyboards for all kinds of devices, from kitchens to mining equipment, everywhere where like there's extreme conditions, heat, sand, and you need reliability. Also hospitals as well. We also do some production and consultation because we find that usually when a customer comes to us with an idea for a project or a product, needs some adjustments and adaptation so that it's easier to produce and it's more efficient to produce. And what I'm going to talk about today is the medical devices and electrodes that we actually specialize in. So yeah, medical devices and sensors. So we do a lot of hybrid sensors, wearable patches, lab on a chip stuff, even electrochemical sensors we've done. We do a lot of bioelectrical measurements. So things like ECG, so like measuring a person's heart rate, also like EMG, also stimulation, like TENS, like and functional electrical stimulation. So it kind of depends on what is the customer's sort of idea for their product, what is their product, and what do they want to do with it. It's generally like everything from specialized wound care to monitoring patients' health and stuff like that, and also things like, you know, the basic diabetes strips could be something that we produce as well. So like our goal is always in the end mass production. So our customers at some point are going to want to be able to have a product which is available on scale that they can sell for a reasonable price, and that's usually one of the things that we really try to, you know, help them with. So we try to ensure functionality with like making sure the design is coherent, everything in the device does what it's supposed to do, and everything just fits and works together, and is like in a sort of a logical layout. And of course, reducing risks, especially with medical devices, is very important. Our quality systems that we have, like the ISO 13485 and the ISO 9001, we use those to improve our processes and make sure that everything is up to date and as efficient as possible. And also optimizing the components, making sure that the right adhesives, the right materials. And ultimately, our goal is to save time and money, like through picking the right materials, the right processes, and optimizing all along the way and keeping improving these processes. And a bit about materials and processes. So we are a printed electronics company. The traditional materials are like PETs and plastics. But we've also been working with things like polyurethanes or TPU, like thermoformable polyurethanes, to make stretchable sensors, which is very important when you're working with sensors on the skin. As the skin moves and it's stretchable, using a stretchable material means that you can have a less aggressive adhesive and the patch can stay on the skin for longer. And also using things like fabrics, which are breathable, means that there's less skin irritation, and it's more comfortable for the patient to wear this patch over a longer period of time. Some processes, we have both sheet-to-sheet and roll-to-roll processes. The reason we both keep both processes is the sheet-to-sheet process usually allows us to do quick prototyping, get your first iteration of a device out there, and then later on move it to roll for the mass production and making sure it's efficient as well. We also have a clean room. Still, the validation is still in progress, but it has been built. It's kind of like gotten disturbed by the things that I'm going to talk about in a moment. And one of the things we also try to help our customers get to market quickly. Getting a medical device to market is not an easy process, especially now. Some of you may have seen this slide already at the PrintoCent 20 conference in the beginning of this year. Yeah, in an optimal conditions, sometimes it can take up to 24 months to actually go to 0 series and start clinical trials and stuff like that. But we've had cases where we had it in 6 months. I didn't want to claim 6 months this time because at the moment with the coronavirus epidemic, certification processes, CE marks, and all these things are backlogged all the way to something bad. But 12 months is for us, like, because we've done this a lot and we know what sort of things to look out for during the development. We can get your device usually ready for clinical trials and market within 12 months. So our first actual customer case that I can actually talk about, we've had some research cases before, but this is actually the My Angel patch by Inomedis. Now this is perfect for this topic here. The company is actually founded in 2014 by Dr. Fabrice Wassenaar, a French gentleman. He actually started this company because in 2010, his brother went hiking in Canada, out in the great outdoors. His brother suffered a heart attack, and by the time the emergency medical services were alerted, it was already too late to stop his brother from becoming paraplegic. So being in a wheelchair the rest of your life and not being able to do something. So like Fabrice was like, well, there has to be some way to like get around this, like some way to make like quality cardiological care independent of your geographical location. And it entered first clinical tests last year, and they're moving to market later this year. Also a bit of a boost with the corona virus. So it's the patch. It's a combination of the patch and a sensor dot that connects into the patch, and it measures ECG, so heart rate and heart rate variability. It measures oxygen saturation, breathing rate, blood pressure as well. It even has fall position detecting by gyroscopes, so you can see the app that comes with this, that usually connects to a smartphone, can actually alert people if a person falls suddenly, or is there a sudden shift in position. It also measures temperature, which is quite an important and ubiquitous sort of measurement. It also contains a step counter, which is nice if you're like doing sports and making sure that your patient is actually moving as they should, and with a Bluetooth low energy transmission to connect to your smartphone. Software side, it actually has an algorithm to predict and prevent heart attacks, which is nice. Which is basically the original idea of the product, because what happened to Fabrice's brother, he did not really want people to ever have to be in that situation again. And the more you can predict, prevention is always better than curing. And it also actually now with all these measurements that it takes and all these biomarkers, temperature, for example, it can also actually be used to monitor patients with infectious diseases and COVID-19 as well. Because usually one of the main factors that can measure the deterioration of a patient is actually just their temperature. There's a lot of complicated ways that you can do virus tests and analysis and electrochemical tests, but usually like temperature, especially combined with these other biomarkers, can actually really predict and monitor how a patient is doing, if they're deteriorating, if they're getting better, and can allow doctors and nurses to actually intervene before it is needed. So what French people do great is design. Like my parents once bought a Renault Laguna in the early 2003s. I think it was 2003. Yeah, it was a great car. It looked great. It just had the slight problem that the steering wheel assembly was out of alignment, which meant that it actually had to be replaced every year. So you didn't really see these cars after the factory warranty ran out around 2006. So when Fabrice came to us, there was a lot of issues with this patch that needed to be resolved, engineering issues, producibility issues. Originally, actually, the power source was actually on the patch. And Fabrice, he's a vegetarian, he likes the environment. So we were thinking about zinc batteries. But because this patch is worn on the chest, and it has to actually be watertight because we want people to be able to do exercise with this, it usually also means that there's not a lot of air going in there, and the zinc battery needs air to function. So there was a lot of back and forth on how to do this. And eventually this was then decided to minimize the amount of features on the patch itself and actually connect it to a sensor dot. So to get the disposable part to be as cheap as possible, and to actually have a durable, reusable sensor dot there, and so to still make this patch environmentally friendly, or as environmentally friendly as possible. So they had to take tough decisions of what stays on the patch and what doesn't. And also the place on the body, on the chest, actually is an area that moves quite a lot. So we've had to use a lot of flexible materials and stretchable materials like the fabrics and polyurethanes to actually make sure that it actually stays on the skin for up to 7 days, which is quite a long time, especially under a lot of duress and stress. And also make sure that the adhesive areas itself are still breathable, so that it doesn't destroy the skin after being on for a week. And so these are all kinds of things that we have to think about when we're producing a patch and when a customer comes to us. And the end result is actually that we've gotten the cost of the patch down a lot and made it viable for mass manufacture. And then still another small case, which is the personal protection equipment. Actually, you can see here our CTO, Mr. Mikko Paakalanvaara. As a response to the coronavirus, we actually started making face protecting visors. We managed to set up a production quite fast, going from 100 pieces a week to 10,000 pieces within 4 weeks. So that's one of the things we want to show with this is that we're a small company, or somewhat small company, medium-sized company, but when we have the resources, when there is a need, we can ramp up production of pretty much anything very fast. And because of this, we actually got the trust of a lot of the hospitals in Finland, and they said that, well, because there's a shortage of FFP 2 and 3 masks, as well as surgical masks, we have now actually signed a contract to make millions and millions of these masks, starting next month with the surgical masks. And in August, September, we'll be actually creating FFP2 and FFP3 masks. This is sort of a thing that was built out of necessity, but what we're trying to do here is just secure production in Finland, but trying to get as many finished materials as possible to make sure that there's like a sort of an independence on these sort of areas, so that like healthcare workers are properly protected. But also, to show that we can actually, when the need is there, we can actually set up and ramp up production quite fast, which is usually something that people are like, well, is your company like capable of this? Then it turns out that yes, we are. So, sort of to wrap this up, what we offer, we have quality management. So we try to produce constant and reliable results, support clients with documentation, and everything to just speed up the documentation processes. We've worked with customers in Finland, Israel, the US, France, and Denmark to get their products onto the market. We try to do fast prototyping, so especially even with smaller companies that just want to show like what their product is, like how can they get a quick prototype. Like it's usually quite a fast process, and there's no expensive inline equipment because most of the processes we use are quite modular and quite universally adapted. We are also able to scale from like sheet to sheet to roll to roll quite fast, as we use similar techniques in our roll to roll machinery and our sheet to sheet machinery. And we try to grow with our customers. So like finding and support like for Nordic option, and then like allowed us to grow actually and make investments to better support our companies. We have a research network with partners such as VTT and a lot of universities that can help us develop products. So even if there's something really innovative and like hard research that needs to be done, we do have partners that can actually help us in that. And we're very thankful for that. So we try to do rapid process and equipment development, just keep things like thinking solutions and not problems. We also have long-term mutual relationships. Like our longest customers have been our customers since the company has been like founded, and we try to keep it that way. And we have a lot of in-house practical experience in hybrid technologies and manufacturing. Mikko is actually ex-VTT. Antti has been doing this for a long while. And we have people both young and old in our company that have massive combined experience. So yeah, basically we want to grow together and help our customers be flexible, get a fast turnaround for development projects, because like there's a lot of usually money waste and time wasted in these projects, especially in the medical side, and like every like day basically counts, especially when you're making technologies that actually help people. Nobody wants to wait for those to actually be there. So yeah, to sort of wrap this up, because I think I've already exceeded my time, a lot of time limit. Yeah, we try to make stuff, like your partner in manufacturing solutions. If you have a medical device and you want to get it to market, just come talk to us, and I'm pretty sure that we can find a solution that suits you. Some contact information as well for my own. The sales guy, which is sort of a Finnish joke, because sales, marketing, all these things, it's just sales. and Mikko, our CTO, and our CEO, of course, Antti Tauriainen. But yeah, thank you very much for your attention. I hope I haven't bored you all to sleep. And yeah, I think it's time for the next speaker.
Yeah, thanks, Rolof, and excellent job. Hope you get well soon. And excellent to see a client case. For many of us in this field, we are dealing with client cases that are highly confidential, and always great to see that you're able to disclose one of those.
Yeah, I was very happy with that as well, because it's a very rare thing that like confidential cases. Like we do a lot of cool stuff, but very rarely can we actually show people what we're actually doing.
And my angel Innomed is in a very hot sector right now. So these patches is a very strongly growing market. Raku Das from ID TechX recently joined one of our webinars and said that last year it was a $6 billion market and growing to be 20 billion in the next 10 years. So it is definitely a direction where the field is going, this shift to more continuous monitoring, as opposed to just having individual test points. So yes, big things, big things. So thank you. All right, in our community, we have many different types of companies. You have the bigger established corporations, Nokia, DNP, Asahi Kasei, and then you have companies like Invisible, who have been members of PrintoCent since 2011, have benefited from being part of this type of network. And then you have the micro companies, you have the seed phase companies, and certainly this next one is a very exciting company in its very early stages. Without any further ado, Prateek Singh from FinnAdvance, please introduce your exciting opportunity.
Thanks for the introduction, Yanni, and hello everyone. I hope the screen is visible. So I'm Prateek, founder and CEO at FinnAdvance, where we are leveraging organ-on-chip technologies to bring therapies from bench to bedside. The work we are doing is targeted towards rare and orphan diseases, which even though the name says rare diseases, they're not so rare. They typically affect 10 to 15% of the population globally. And the rare and orphan diseases, they are a group of more than 7,000 diseases, which are fatal if they are in the vascular or in the central nervous system areas. And like any disease or disorder, to find a drug to cure or a therapy for these diseases, it takes upwards of 10 years, close to €1 billion, and hundreds, if not thousands, of researchers. And the major reason for this long development time for these drugs has been because we use a lot of animals in the drug R&D, which lead to the high cost and an increasingly low efficiency. And this has been known for a few decades now. What FinnAdvance is doing is that we are trying to reduce, if not totally replace, the usage of animals in drug R&D. And we accomplished this by starting with the patient material. We take a patient-derived cell source, and then we grow it on our microfluidic culture platform, which closely mimics the in vivo microphysiological system. And what you end up is a human disease on a chip. And if it's not a disease, then it's a human organ on a chip. So we are able to provide in vivo-like culture conditions in vitro. And this platform is used in developing drugs which are on the border of going from preclinical to clinical stage. So you can do quite many steps, going from basic research all the way to pharmacokinetic and distribution studies between different organs on the chip. And we have been, even though we are less than 2 years old, somewhere I think 1.5 years old, we have been able to reliably develop our organ on chip. Here you are seeing a network of blood vessels which has been grown in our vasculature platform. And here if we add a specific mutation for the vascular anomaly, we see a sprout growing, and then we start flowing different drug candidates to reduce that growth. And the direction where we are heading is to replace the traditional translational models where animals or rodent models are used, and to go even a step further. If we are using patient-derived material, then we are able to achieve eventually personalized medicines. And that's the direction where we would really like to see ourselves going. To do this kind of very quick work, we have a very excellent team of researchers and innovators in our team. We are 5 main people, me heading the company. Yariminna Tuan Tuomas. Tuan is our CTO who has joined from Vietnam, and he's been developing really good designs. And Tuomas and Minna have been helping a lot with our research and development, and Yari does the overall management of the company. And this is our full team with Anina, our most recent hire. We have hired 2 more people last week, so they have not been added here. And we are based in Oulu, in northern Finland. As I said, since we are quite young, we had some success in many technology startup competitions, as well as we recently secured our €500,000 seed round in April. And this month, or the last month, we got an Academy of Finland funded coronavirus project where we are using our organ-on-chip platform to test some of the molecules which look promising to defeat the virus. As well as for a commercial partner, we are developing PCR chips for COVID detection. So we have been lucky to get some commercial projects, and for our organ-on-chips, not only with academia, but we are also cooperating with 2 European pharmaceutical partners. But in short, that was an introduction to our startup, and we hope to grow ourselves to a team of 15 people before the end of this year. And we are constantly expanding our IP. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Pratik. Great to see a early stage company being so successful already in the first days of its business. In September, we will have a PrintoCent webinar that is focused on the investors, and I hope that FinnAdvance is there also to pitch your company. Your developments are for a very good cause. All right, the next presentation was to have been from Markku Kansakoski, CTO of Ginolis. Like I said at the beginning of the session, sadly the networks where he is currently are down, and he's not able to join us for this webinar. He has sent his slide deck to me. I don't know if you can see my screen. Ginolis was founded in 2010, and really looking at how to automate the medical device assembly. There are many steps in medical device manufacture that are still highly manual, and this company, headquartered in Oulu, has been systematically building these kind of systems for more lean manufacture with these automated systems. Sadly, I'm not the expert of Ginolis and not able to properly present the company, so I direct you to check out Ginolis's website and connect directly with Markku and join future PrintoCent events. Ginolis has been a very active member since the very beginning. All right. Moving ahead, we come to Professor Jussi Hiltunen from VTT, Technical Research Center of Finland. Jussi has been in VTT for a few years, been involved in some very exciting research projects. Some of those developments now at commercialization stage. And I believe for the past couple of years, you've been research professor. Please share your insights to this hot, evolving field of printed diagnostics.
Thanks, Jani Mikael. And you mentioned that I've been here for a few years, so maybe 20 years is more or less few years, but I must admit that I was maybe a couple of years, a little bit following in the vicinity how this printed electronics and printed intelligence is developing. But the first project, they were really about 20 years ago, and it has been really interesting journey to follow how wild ideas have become reality and how good results have been then transferred to industry and real applications. And I've been now research professor for 2 years, and of course I really tried to advance the whole field, but maybe the special topic is this health and wellness field, which because I see that there's still a huge opportunity to make a real breakthrough here. And then I have this, let me see, I share my screen. Like this. Can you see my screen now? PowerPoint?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this presentation is then on the smart patches to give some concrete idea of what we are developing in this field of diagnostics and well-being, and then a little bit about our position in this R&D chain, and then what are then our activities to further improve the development and make it faster to transfer the results from research then to industrial fabrication and applications. So we have, this is a set of webinars, and this printed intelligence is well covered in those different occasions. And now I'm directly quite fast then to this medical domain. And basically, when looking at the different technologies that what we need in those smart patches, so it is a huge variety. And then these patches can be divided maybe more or less into two type of categories depending on their operation. So the other part is a chemical parameter sensor, and they are usually kind of a multi-layer stacks, and one layer is basically to handle fluid, and in patches, of course, sweat is very important sample matrix. And then we have a sensing layer, which basically can be optical or electrical, like a electrochemical sensor. And then we have a cover lid. And then we have this category of physical parameter sensors that contains maybe some pulse or movement accelerator sensors. And then when looking this overall picture, then the functionalities what we have there are then optical features. Then very typically we need to do some chemical modifications on the surfaces. Then microfluidic part that transports then the sample matrix to sensing area. Obviously electronics, here you can see a picture of stretchable electronic wiring, and then finally we need to have a way to do component assembly on those sensors. And we are quite heavily focusing on our work on our pilot line process development. And this is maybe something that we try to differentiate us from many other research organizations. And what I showed in previous slide, the huge variety of different functionalities and technologies. So then this automatically mean that we need to have also quite good coverage on different process capabilities. You can see here kind of a menu of different options to prepare these micro and nano features or print different materials, put layers together, and then apply reagents, for example, for electrochemical detection, or if we detect proteins, then we need antibodies. And basically, originally, when we started the development of this printed electronics or printed intelligence, the ultimate aim was to try to print everything. And of course, still we try to print as many as possible. But the reality is that then we need to use also a hybrid integration, so that we then assemble components that are produced by other methods. For example, silicon is still very powerful material, and we need to use a lot of silicon chips. Then basically dividing VTT's role in this R&D chain. So first part is that we are an organization on applied research, so we are not doing fundamental research. So this belongs then to universities. But then what we try to do is then to create new concepts. So this is the first part, and then the other part is this pilot fabrication. And obviously, when we create these new concepts, then we already try to think that how to do then the next step, this pilot fabrication. But here I can show you a couple of example of a few concepts. So this is a kind of a trend, what is ongoing on these patches. So as we saw already in Screentec's presentation, that different technologies are commercialized, and a lot of them are being commercialized, and a lot of them are fabricated on flexible electronic substrates, so that they are conformable and convenient to use. I think the next way what is then ongoing is then to transfer from a flexible to stretchable substrates, and this further increase then the conformability, and basically they are it's not so easy anymore to recognize that or feel that you are actually wearing some things, and this is then for engineers a challenge, so that how to build those systems in a very reliable manner while keeping a possibility for high volume production. And then going further in this trend chain, what is now coming, and there are a lot of activities in academia, and then now what is being transferred to applied research is this epidermal electronics. So basically it's electronics made on very extremely thin substrate, and then you can wash out some additional carrier, so it's a little bit a tattoo type electronics. Of course, reality is that time span when this is in medical usage might take quite a time, but then maybe for wellness applications or for indicative purposes, so that they might find their way. And here what is the key point is that those epidermal sensors, so that they can be as well mass produced by printing methods. This is an example, maybe somehow a conventional hardware platform containing impedance, ECG, PPT, SPO2 modules. But this shows then how we then collaborate with companies, that we have a certain platform and kind of benchmark which we then can tailor, and then when moving forward in this kind of trend chain, so that we have a certain reference spot, so that this is a performance that is available, and then how far we can get with the new technologies. This is then example how this epidermal electronics look like, so that we call this e-skin demo. So we roll-to-roll produced stretchable electronics on PDMS, and then when I tested this first time, it was I would say very interesting, if this is the right word, because I didn't feel anything that I have something on my skin. Then a couple of slides about piloting. So the previous one showed about concept creation, and then piloting is something that cases what we have a roll-to-roll fabricated and tested in a at least a slightly larger scale. So this is an example case that VTT made in collaboration with UC Berkeley, and this is a wearable sweat sensor. So there, this electrical sensing layer was roll-to-roll printed, and then these fluidic channels were laser cut, and then stacks were laminated together, and then our collaborators in UC Berkeley, then they tested these wearable devices by having volunteers doing exercise, and then they also induced sweating by iontophoresis. And then using those sensors, it was possible to measure overall sweat rate, and then extract also ion concentration, and also extract glucose level from sweat. You can find more information from this article. This, by the way, these videos, hopefully they run properly. I'm at home office, and I try to steal bandwidth from my teenagers who usually occupies most of our home internet band, but I hope you can see still these videos. So this gives an impression how roll-to-roll processing looks like, making these fluidic features and laminating different layers and printing electronics, and then roll-to-roll printing of biomolecules. And this part of this biomolecule printing is made in collaboration with Ginolis. So they customized their equipment for roll-to-roll purposes. And then let me see. Okay, quickly showing then one example case. So about this pilot scale fabrication. So this is a microfluidic blood tester. Again, actually, even though it looks very simple, there are still different functionalities, so that when we insert a drop of blood, and then we separate blood cells, and then we have some microfluidic mixtures or mix serum with certain bioreagents, and then capture some molecules, and then we have blister for actuation, and then we develop a process to produce those in masses by roll-to-roll fabrication, and there's a chain of different methods. This shows in use, so that when we insert a drop of blood and then we have a blister, this channel is filled, or regions are mixed, and then we have here a detection point, and then using or taking fluorescence image, then we can check a CRP level, which is a marker for inflammation. There are a couple of papers out. Please check these papers on the chip fabrication, and then there's one scientific paper on reader device. And then finally getting to this part, how we are providing printed diagnostic as a service. First, a kind of general picture, so that what is position of research organization generally in this R&D chain, so that it is not definitely alone, and it's needed that there are a lot of research activities on concept phases, and also universities, and then as I mentioned earlier, that we have put a lot of emphasis then to make this transfer from concept to a prototype phase, and so the potential for upscale manufacture. But then what is still remains a big challenge is that when moving forward in this chain, we have here this preclinical and clinical studies before or the actual manufacturing and market or commercialization, and here and this is because of the regulations. So it is very challenging for research organization to get those certificates, and because it freezes a lot of work, and there's a lot of documentation which is needed in medical device fabrication. But then this sets also a challenge that how to make a fast transfer from this kind of R&D phase then to a higher TRL, technology readiness phase. And here I'm not saying that we have a full solution, but at least we are trying and piloting a way for accelerated product development. We just launched MedFab project, which is supposed to be a sustainable pilot line, and this illustrates. This is basically another illustration for this issue, to make a transfer from this exploratory phase to a kind of or product development, launch and maintenance phase. And this is typically the playing field for research organizations, so that in some cases we can go actually quite high in TRL, but then if we have ignored, or if we don't have a clear idea that how to advance manufacturing readiness level, so then there's a gap, so that how those new concepts can be then manufactured. And then for in some cases there might be need for complete new redesigns This basically, and this in some cases this might be going back in TRL, and this is now something that we try to solve this in this pilot initiative, MedFab. So we got funding from European Union with a group of research organization, end user companies, and then manufacturing companies who have certification to produce medical devices. Screentec gave in this webinar a presentation, and they do have this ISO 13485 certificate. VTT has been doing and continues to do a good and close collaboration with Screentec, for example. And the idea in this MedFab is that we try to harmonize the way of working, so that when RTOs are developing something here, then we have a better understanding that what does it mean to make the transfer, and then we are basically building kind of some quality systems and documentation, so that when we get customers here, then we can offer the customers also a way then to do certified manufacturer. Please visit then medfab.eu website. We are launching a front office that and you can contact us there, and then we then distribute inquiries depending on your needs then to certified companies or research organizations. Okay, here you can see then methods to contact MedFab. So thanks for your attention, and there has been obviously a lot of work, a lot of people behind these slides, and this has been developed in several projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Jussi. Yes, there's hundreds of people in the PrintoCent community who have some have lots of experience, 20 years or so. Time flies when you're having fun. And then there are people who are new to the field. I see we have a very international audience. We had almost 200 people signed up for this webinar. I do encourage you all to get involved. This is a network, this is a community. No matter where you are in your maturity of your developments, within PrintoCent, you'll find the right type of connections. And certainly you'll find also overlaps in terms of what the members can offer. But this market opportunity is massive. And there's plenty of room for us to work together. And it's really exciting to see these presentations. Before we go into the Q&A, I do want to share a little bit more about PrintoCent and upcoming webinars as well. Okay, IntelliFlex is saying hi. Lots of great. And in PrintoCent, like I said, we are a community of roughly 40 members at this moment. Feel free to join, or feel free to connect with us even without becoming a member. Unfortunately, we were not able to cram everyone's presentations into this webinar regarding health. We have many companies that are somehow connected to the field. Isent, for example, whose facilities I'm in, do these roll-to-roll hot embossing, can be done for various different purposes. For instance, microfluidic channel production could be handled with these types of tools and through means of hot embossing. Our company, Invisible, we make electrochromic displays where you have a wearable device, a skin patch or what. In many cases, you'll see the LED lights there. We offer an ultra low power solution that is also roll-to-roll producible, a display for your diagnostic tests and devices. Many opportunities in this network. Do connect with us. This series, webinar series, has 4 more sessions to it. The next one is June 25th. Stay until the end. There's a questionnaire and you'll have a link to register to that. The next session will be looking at structural electronics. We have a small summer break, and then in September we have 3 more sessions. Safety, security, trillion sensors, and as mentioned earlier, investing in printed intelligence. Next week's session, June 25th, actually it is not Tuesday, it is Thursday next week, if I'm not mistaken. We have presentations from Geely, Taktotech, Sonai Industria, Koita Health, and Kanatu. So do check that out if you want to learn how you first produce electronics onto films and how you then integrate them into the products. But thank you for the audience for staying this long. We have some time for questions and answers, and we had many questions come to us during the talks. Okay, I'm trying to get the screen in a way that I can actually see the questions and answers. So many of them have already been answered in writing here, but I do want to raise a few questions here for a little bit of extra discussion. I see that there were many questions to Joachim at the very beginning of the session. Yes. So Joachim, are you still on the line?
I'm with you. Hi.
Yes. So obviously, with your company's product and offering, the entire data management is a big question. So could you say a few more words about the end-to-end description, how you handle the data? What's the role of artificial intelligence?
Sure. Well, the artificial intelligence comes in the analysis of tests, where we go in and we use the process of machine vision to pick up visual data points from diagnostic devices at point of care. And then through our algorithms, we are making analyses of these individual tests. And what is quite important with, for example, these rapid tests, and this is something that has become a big issue with corona antibody tests, is that the quality is very variant. So with our solution, we are actually able to always on an individual test level at the user stage to compare it to the mint condition, if you want, to the actual functioning that was approved in laboratories for regulatory approval. And that is done through the AI. And also what we can do is to take a test that gives the human eye a binary result, positive or negative. We can actually go in and read from the line intensity and the coloring of the lines results that are, for example, for a pregnancy test, we cannot just say you're pregnant or not. We can say you've been pregnant for 3 to 4 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks. Or we can take a very simple HIV test and we're not just saying it's positive or negative, we can actually make indications of the viral load, which is a really interesting prospect, especially in countries with lower budgets where PCR testing is a challenge due to infrastructure and price. So it is possible to go in and make much more elaborate analyses from a very, very simple and cheap test. As per the data handling, we live up to GDPR and HIPAA requirements, where GDPR, as we all know, is the European regulation that has found application in various parts of the world. And we use the HIPAA methodology, if you want, to ensure that particularly health data is secured. And one of the main mechanisms that we use to live up both to sort of sensitive private information and national security interests is that we split the operation of our technology, where we have a global server to run the actual technology and have very operational quality assurance data flowing internationally. But we also install a local server in the destination country to make sure that particularly health data does not actually leave the destination country, which is a requirement that a lot of countries have to ensure that their national interests are protected.
All right, thanks, Joachim. And one more question to you. So you mentioned various different types of tests and samples. So you're able to work with many different types of tests. What's the requirements to connect to your offering?
Sure. I mean, the key type of test that we're working with, and that is easiest for us to integrate, are these rapid tests. So these are these test cassette or strips that from the use as pregnancy tests, or you have maybe seen them at your doctors for various diagnoses. And there's a sheer endless amount of diseases and phenomena that you can test with these. That can be drug abuse, that can be infectious diseases, it can be veterinary phenomena, it can be water quality, for example. So the important thing is that there is a visual result, and that can be a line as on these tests, where you have a control line and a test line. It can also be digits on a screen for your glucose meter or your blood pressure sensor, something like that. A lot of these devices are disconnected. More and more they are being offered as connected devices with their own sort of web interface, so mobile applications. But usually what happens with these solutions is that they are locked to a certain manufacturer. So healthcare providers actually lack a system and a way to read out all kinds of different devices and tests and combine the data in one place, so they have it available with one login for a patient or a population of patients. And that is something that we can provide.
All right, thank you, Joachim. Next question, Rolof, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Excellent. Good to hear your voice. I want to highlight this question. You brought us a client case, MyAngel Innomedis, and always love showing when there are new products coming to market. There's a question to you, going back to the MyAngel product. What does it actually do? So can you, in a couple of sentences, repeat, what does it really do?
So yeah, I try to answer this in text form, but basically what it does is it records vital signs, which are run through an algorithm, which then sort of predicts the health of a person and well, gives a picture of their general health. It has an e-health application, like an iPhone, like a phone application, basically attached to it, which can actually send the data to a doctor, which can then interpret this and give an actual medical opinion as well. But the idea is that you have a device which can monitor your health. Yeah, sorry, there's like stuff going on in the background. Yeah, monitor your health regardless of your geographical location. So, yeah, like through algorithms, prevent or like at least predict heart attacks or heart disease, and monitor patients with diseases, basically.
Yes. Yeah, and the story, the background story, although a sad one, it's great to see people picking themselves up and being innovative, finding solutions based on these.
Yeah, well, usually the best innovations are born from great need. So
yes. One more question to you now that you're there. There was also the question on when you produce these devices, these different sensors, what are the substrates that you produce them on, And can you produce multi-layer microphysiological systems?
Yeah, I'm not really an engineer, so the microphysiological systems, like, I can't really comment on that because I'm not 100% sure what is meant by that. But we use different substrates, usually polymers like PET, polyethylene, and polyurethane, or TPU, usually thermoformable polyurethane, which is a bit more stable. And we use silver chloride, and graphite, or carbon inks, to usually make the sensors. And for electrochemical sensors, we can coat enzymes onto the sensors, which react to the presence of a certain chemical or substance, which can then be read out either through a reader device or give a visual interpretation of like through a color change, kind of like the ones you get in pregnancy tests.
Yes. Yeah. Screentec, you need to remember to use our displays.
Yes, absolutely. Like, I mean, those are also, that's a great point that you make there. Like, for a lot of, like, especially disposable sensors, like that, like having a electrochromic simple display could very much like be a valuable
different use cases, different needs for how to display that information. Obviously, critical every time is reliability of the devices and ease of use. As we take these tests into the field, into home environments, pharmacies, we have a wider base of users. These devices have to be very simple to use and understand. These are not always trained individuals anymore. So
yeah, I think that's also like one of it might be good to add, actually, that's one of the issues that we often run into when we have a new smart patch or a new medical device. The question is always, how does this fit into the existing care sort of routines, and like how does it seamlessly integrate with how we're already doing things? Because usually when you have doctors and nurses, you don't really want to go and change their modus operandi, like their day-to-day tasks. You want to support them instead of like adding extra things to their routines. So that's usually a very critical question.
Yes, indeed. All right, Rudolf, thank you. Let me ask Pratik a question or two. I do have to admit that we're now going way beyond what my understanding of the space is. But Pratik, there was several questions to you during your talk. Is there anyone that you would like to highlight? For instance, there was a question on your chip. Is it a closed circulation of the chip? Are there pumps, valves?
People were wondering quite a lot on the different type of cells what we have used, and the different features what we have. So one good thing about not being a mass manufacturer is that we provide a lot of customized solutions. So we have devices with actuating membranes and actuating joints. And we have worked with quite many different cell types. We do a lot of evaluation in-house. We have our own cell lab. So we do cell line evaluations and organoid evaluations on chip. And because our end users are, for now, R&D workers, so we do not expect them to be engineers. So all the chip, all the pumping and valve actuation is off chip, and in most of our chips, the pumping system is tubeless and it's contactless actuation. So it makes it very easy for the end user to handle it like an ordinary lab device.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Like I said, there were many questions. You have answered many of these in writing. As I lack expertise, I'm not going to try and attempt to take this further. But I do have a question to you, as you are a CEO of a startup company in early stages. Tell me in a few words, why did you decide to join PrintoCent?
Because of the consortium. So the technologies, the base technologies what we use are used by many of the PrintoCent members, and especially VTT has been a very good example of how you can have a lot of different technologies under one house. And I saw PrintoCent as this one-stop shop where you can basically order any of this expertise or learn this expertise from the different members there are. And I also have personal connection. I personally know quite many people there who have been very helpful in bringing our company where we are today.
Yes. Yeah, you're originally from India, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Yeah. So great to have these international networks, and I do want to say to the viewers that are still with us, this network, no matter if you're a startup like FinnAdvance, or if you are in a bigger corporation and have an internal startup, this lean startup thinking applies very well to this community. You have a network where you have skill sets, you have equipment, you have facilities from the early stages of development to high volume manufacture. This is an excellent ecosystem to work with and save costs and save time, because there is a lot of expertise and a lot of infrastructure already in place and available for you. I don't see any questions for Jussi, but before we end this, Jussi, can you say what is the most exciting development in this health medical space that you are seeing right now?
This is a kind of question that which one is your favorite child?
Yes.
I have the two kids, and then multiple technologies that what we are developing. Let me. Okay. What I would. Okay. Maybe giving generic answer. I would like to see kind of a highly integrated wearable technologies, combined physical parameter and chemical parameter devices, and transferred from RTO to certified production. So this is something that I definitely want to see.
I think that was an excellent answer, politically correct, but it also summarized very well your presentation, that there are these trends and this technology is evolving. There's great to see that there are these different levels of maturity as well. So no matter where you are in terms of your development ideas and needs, do connect with us. Here are a couple of contact information. Ilkka Kaisto, Jukka Jaatinen from PrintoCent. Any questions? If you have needs, you want to know how to get started, these are certainly two colleagues to connect with. And you saw this list of companies. Go check out PrintoCent website, check out the member companies, and do join us for the next webinars. Next one is on structural electronics. Next week, Thursday, sign up. There is a link that was sent through the chat to everyone, and look forward to seeing you soon. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.